welcome to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past broadcasts are archived. You can listen to them anytime. Visit ArtistFirst.com. Send your questions and comments to DJ@ArtistFirst.com and we'll include them on a broadcast. Here they are, the hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, C-Man. And we've got it, folks. We started the show in the right way. It's awesome. And yes, I am one of your hosts, Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And tonight on the Soul of the Everyman, we're going to have a very interesting show. Last week, if you guys didn't catch the show last week, we had an interesting discussion on love, and I still love you.
I'm so glad.
But we do all kinds of things on the Soul of the Everyman. I just want to let folks know, by the way, that we've been informed by the powers that be that the Soul of the Everyman is going to be randomly rebroadcast on Sundays at 1 p.m., I think. And that's kind of a cool thing. So if you guys don't like staying up late at night and listening to us live, even though we are here for you people, so listen, But and I'm talking to you 7 people in Peoria that's listening. But if for those of you who can't stay up late, past your bedtimes or 10 o'clock in Eastern time, you can listen at 1 o'clock on Sunday. So that's cool. Those are cool things. And tonight's show is perhaps a little apropos. We decided that we were going to talk tonight about life and the fact that life is short, and then you die. Or the corollary, life sucks and then you die. But no, none of those things are true. But life is short, and what kind of engendered this, at least in the Christian tradition, or maybe in the Catholic Christian tradition, it's we just started the season which is called Lent, and although that has a lot of other connotations, and we don't need to get into any of those things, it kind of inspired us to think about the fact that life is short. Because one of the things that the intonation or the invocation that's used at this time is that remember, man, that thou art dust, and to dust thou shalt return. And that's always very, very profound. And it's kind of like, hey, dude, you're going to die. Get this right. It's like it's said in a nice way, and then they just smack you with a gob full of ashes, and you're like, wow, I'm bummed out. I got to go home now. But life is, life really is very short, and I think oftentimes, especially in our kind of day-to-day whirlwind of things that we do, picking up the kids, kicking the dog, and all those things, we lose sight of the fact that all the ephemera, the kind of minutiae of life, are not the things that matter.
This is true. And just to remind you that everything that you're doing right now does not last. It just doesn't last. And if that's the case, because you can go down a very depressing train of thought at that point. Like, well, if everything I'm doing just turns to dust, why am I doing this?
Oh, yeah.
And it was very funny because when we were doing the store, and conversations would strike up, and
you might want to give a little background. For the folks who don't know, that for many years, I guess 8 or 9 or 10 years, Margaret and I ran a store, which was called the Rock and Gem Store, and it was located in nearby to where we live, and the store itself attracted a tremendous number of different types of people. Some were people, and some were not.
Well, when you have a
retail
store that's dealing with rocks of all kinds, and it's raw and cut, you attract a very broad spectrum of the populace.
Right. Everything from mouth-breathing rockhounds to mouth breathing, healing, to meditation, to...
Well, it's very interesting because a lot of people are very intimately connected to the earth, and many times their connection is through something in their hand. So we had just so many people coming through, whether it was the true rock collector who was interested in specimens and talked about crystal structures and formations, to people who collected because of beauty of the stones. And I think that's something that most of us can make a connection with. The fact
especially the kids.
Oh, it's amazing to see what nature actually forms deep in the earth. And when it's brought to light and the light gets to play in these incredible formations, you're just amazed, because the patterns that you see are repeated throughout many things that nature makes. Yep. And then you had those that are using stones as healing tools or healing modalities, and there are a bunch of traditions that do that. So I think we had just about every kind of shaman,
energy worker,
as well as religious and every kind of scientific bent known to man. It was just an amazing experience. But what that brought to mind was the fact that whenever anyone came into the store, of course, you welcome them and asked, if you have any questions, just ask, because we had such amazing specimens in the store. Incredible beauty, and we knew exactly what mines they came from, give them a background history. But what was interesting was one of the most asked questions was, what is the meaning of life? And you're sitting there going, huh? Okay. And then they'd smile at you and say, no. I'm
just joking.
Just joking, yeah. And what was funny was that question was repeated over and over again in the 10 years that we were in business. And eventually it got to the point where you're very quiet. And when they asked you again, well, what is the meaning of life? And the people that come in to ask that question are the ones, they have this very ungrounded, usually.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Not a real connection to
anything.
Right. and they I guess they just want to engage in conversation.
They wanted to kid around, they were giving you a hard time a little bit,
And I do remember these two guys came in and they looked at me and they said, well, anything? What is the meaning of life? No. And at that point, I went internal and asked for divine inspiration. I was like, Lord, what do they need to hear? And what was surprising was the answer. It was, you're here to experience life and everything around it, to truly experience it and feel what it means to be alive. And they stopped in their tracks and looked at me and said, hey, that's a real answer.
No, but they want it.
No.
And then you threw them out. No. We never threw anyone out. We wanted to sometimes, but in fact, that it sounds like a trite question or like a kidding question, but it is a fundamental question, and it's sometimes phrased, as you say, as what is the meaning of life. But it is that sort of feeling that, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, that life is very short. It's a very short period of time. It seems to be full of a lot of it seems to be full of things that really don't seem to matter. And as we say, all things crumble to dust under the sun. The old poem of Ozymandias, and it's something that poets and playwrights and folks who have, philosophers and so on have thought about it. Said, this is an incredible opportunity which we end up just sort of squandering or taking for granted throughout most of it. The old lament is, youth is wasted on the young, because it is only once you have lived for a period of time that you appreciate how precious life is, or you can start to appreciate how precious life is. And it's when you're at the end of things, or when you're saying, well, hey, I see the clubhouse there, the 19th hole is coming up. You're like, what, it seemed too short. It went by too fast. No one told me to pay attention. And so, the moments that you take to reflect, and to slow yourself down and to get out of the go do kind of a mentality, are when you can sort of appreciate this grand experience, this you're here to experience life, and that even though it is ephemeral, that doesn't make it any less precious, because life will end makes it more precious, not less.
And that's what I find with the society is everything around you is supposed to distract you from the truth of that. You're not supposed to think about that at all because, whoa, it's so depressing. It's like, no, it's vital to understanding who you are. If you don't have that, then yeah, of course you're going to feel lost. Like, and again, what is the meaning of life? Well, why are you asking this question if you have not experienced anything? I find it fascinating because in experiencing things, of course, the first thing you learn very quickly is you don't want to feel pain. You don't want to feel any kind of discomfort. But the decision at that point is, well, wait a minute, what if I choose not to feel that? Does it shut me off from other things? It takes an older consciousness or maturity in outlook to understand that when you reject something, you literally are closing a door to an experience. Right. Not saying that you have to go out there and hurt yourself, mind you, but it's understanding, getting that broader perspective of, wait, pain does come, but what's on the other side of it? Or am I only concentrating on resisting the pain?
Well, and that's exactly it. If we just pause there for a moment, is you can't, if you live a life where you avoid all possibility, all risk of injury or pain, and this is not just stubbing your toe. This is emotional pain, or you also live a life which is in essence a cipher. It's a nothing, because to love is to risk loss, to attempt to do anything is to risk failure. And all of these things, can be thought of as, oh, well, I don't want to fail, I don't want to lose, I don't want to. But then you don't want to live. You don't want to. You take no risks, and you become that sort of non-entity. Yes, you say, well, I've never experienced pain. Well, you've never lived. Then life, unfortunately, is ephemeral. Life is short, but life is also a balancing of both risks and pain and wonderful reward that comes.
It's there is joy that counters any kind of sadness or discomfort. There is the alternate there. You can't just concentrate on the one. I might fail. It's like, well, you might succeed.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
And then, gee, if I succeed, will I have anything to talk about? Yeah, because most people want to complain. But regardless, it's understanding that in that moment of experience, you actually choose the next step. So if you reject and say, I'm not going to go there because my this is making me very uncomfortable. It's again these comfort zones. Everybody is just, I must maintain my comfort zone. You're like, well, you're not living. That means that all you're concerned about is the face or that you're presenting, or maintaining a bubble of persona around you, as opposed to stepping out of that and actually finding out what you're capable of. What are you capable of?
Right. And that's, if you look at children, right? I mean, that's the very first potential, is that a child takes their step and they fall. And so there's an attempt and a failure and pain. And at that very moment, you have the decision, will I try this again? And they do. And children have this innate desire to experience. And if you are sitting there wondering, I'm tired and bored of life, well, look at a child and how they look at life. It's wonder in every corner, every nook and cranny. Everything is new. Everything is wonderful, and everything is an experience. And every attempt, which results in failure, is just another opportunity to learn, to attempt again, to get to the level where they can walk and they can run and they can,
Yeah, they're not sitting there trying to figure out, well, let me read up on all this, on how to walk, and I will attempt it after I've read all this stuff and then made this program up in order to strengthen the muscles of my legs, and then I'll have mommy hold my hand, and then we'll begin. It's like, no.
That's so funny, because it's exactly right. We walk away from our adventurous, youthful, just these, these
Let me do the research.
Right, the risk takers that we were as 2-year-olds. 2-year-olds have no fear and risk all. I want that ball. I don't care that it's across a roaring chasm. Yeah, I'm going to get it. They risk all, and they risk everything. They put themselves. They live. If you want to look at life lived to the fullest, look at a 2-year-old going after a lollipop under any conditions. That's life lived to the fullest, and we lose that at our own peril. If we lose wonder, and we lose the innate sort of, I'll try it, I'll do it, I'll attempt it. This adventurous spirit is essential, is core to really living your life. You don't have to be, as you mentioned, you don't have to go and take crazy risks and jump off buildings, and so you don't have to actually live as a 2-year-old, because none of us would survive very long. But and there are many people we know who are ostensibly adults but do need adult supervision, so we already know that. But and all of us could use a little adult supervision once in a while. But moving on, the point is that in your heart, to maintain the adventurous spirit of a child and and the wonder of a child when looking out onto life, the essential component of living a good life, of living a life, is to take risks and wonder and maintain your sense of wonder at all things.
And what's interesting is that sense of wonder, what is at the foundation of maintaining that sense of wonder?
Drugs. No, it's not. The foundation of wonder is to let your spirit, your actual heart, lead you.
Well, I would suggest that it's admitting that you don't know what's out there. Children already understand. They don't know what's going on. Okay? That I know thing that we had talked about, I guess, a couple of conversations back. They already understand that they don't know how this outside world is going to be. But you know what? It's not that bad, because I'm in the house, I'm with Mom, and there's so much to see. And they're not sitting there going, well, it's supposed to be this way, and I'm going to expect this. And it's like, no, the experience is the experience as it is, and it changes every day. And it's okay.
It's okay. Well, but
it's really okay.
You've nailed it. I rescind my answer and accept yours as the truth. It is absolutely the foundation of wonder is that you don't use I know as your block, as your wall. You open yourself to I don't know.
Correct.
And I wonder how it works, and I wonder how I can interact with it. And so exactly that. And maybe that's really the crux of it is we lose the we lose the ability to easily say I don't know, let's find out, and we work ourselves into the I'm supposed to know this, and therefore if I tell people I don't know, I'll look whatever foolish or
no. a childlike wonder is I don't know, let's find out.
Let's find out.
This is going to be fun. Let's find out how this is going to work or not work, or how does it break. I remember one time one of the kids turned something over. It was like a little bamboo dish, and she turned it over and read unbreakable. Unbreakable?
That's a challenge.
So she flipped it over and took something and started smashing it to see if she could break it.
Right. Perfect. You'll never know if you can fly off the roof with a blanket until you try. And then we'll call the paramedics. But no, the point is that a sense of wonder is defeated or it is thwarted by the I knows, and the I know is a disease of adulthood. And you have to overcome that by putting yourself in situations where you don't know. And what happens? You have the opportunity to do three things. You have the opportunity to fail, you have the opportunity to learn, and you have the opportunity to eventually succeed. But if you stay within the box or stay within the I know box and never go outside of it, you're comfortable. You're in your comfort zone. But you're not learning anything, and then life gets to be, the maze and the minutiae and the rat race.
You're not concerned with experiencing what's going on around you. I mean, that's the whole focus when you see a young one beginning to explore. They are so open that when they're babies, they have to sleep because the input that's coming in is so overwhelming. Everything is new. Right. Sound of your own breathing, temperature changes. As you get older, suddenly you're holding something, and then when you release it, it falls down.
The taste of gravel.
Mm-hmm. Everything has a taste. Everything has a taste.
Everything has a taste.
Everything has a taste. Oh my! I still remember when our eldest one was eating the tassels off one of the cushions, and I said, "No, that's not food." He goes, "Salt."
It tastes good.
Tastes like salt.
It tastes like salt, right?
It's like, no.
Like, ew. Well, that's stuck on a sock, but.
That's what babies do.
That's what babies do. But again, that idea that you will throw yourself into an experience not knowing how it's going to turn out, and guided as you grow older by your idea of self-preservation, which 2-year-olds don't have. 2-year-olds have no concept of self-preservation whatsoever. But once you get to the point where you do have the ability to assess whether this thing is going to injure you, you should still retain this idea that I will try it. One of the things which sort of life sort of beats out of you is it says, well, if you fail at something, you should never try it again, and that's a terrible thing. That's a terrible consequence that we impose upon ourselves, because once you give up on on trying something new because you think you're going to fail, then you have failed.
Right.
It may be trite, but you can't. You can't win if you don't play. You can't lose if you don't play, but you can't win if you don't play. So if you want to,
I think the phrase is I won't try, therefore I will never fail.
Well, yeah, but that it really turns the whole thing on its head. If you don't try, you can never win. You can never succeed.
Well,
you can never learn.
That's my point. But that is the thinking that people have, and it's like, well, if I don't try, then I'm not going to fail. It's like, but you're not living either, are you? And you're not winning at anything.
You're not winning at anything, and excuse me. The key is, and this is something which you go back if you'll think a little bit about the experience of Buddhism and so on. As they say, you will fail, and you will succeed through failure. You will succeed through always, constantly attempting something new. Your new reality comes through trying something from your old reality, if you will. And this experiential look at life, and not looking at life as processes or things in a book or things in a I've read up all about how to I've read all the books about raising children. I'm ready. You're not ready. You've got to.
It's a projection on what you think is life. It has nothing to do with actually interacting with everything around you. It's a two-dimensional concept.
It is. And life is short, and the first half hour has been short. So what we'll do is we'll take a little break, and we'll come back, and we'll talk more about life.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere.
When tornadoes raked the South, it was ham radio that was on the air, saving lives. As communities lay in ruins, it was the hams who let their families know their loved ones were safe. When the power and cell phones went out, the hams were there, helping rescuers get the message through. Wherever catastrophes strike, amateur radio is ready. Amateur radio works when other communications don't. Contact the ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, on the web at emergencyradio.org. That's emergencyradio.org.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indy Bragg Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
Get ready, Jade. I've got a surprise adventure you're going to love.
Really?
We're going to swim with Sally the tiger cub. Even get a photo with her that you can share with all your friends.
I don't want to go, Mom.
You feel all right, Jade? I thought you'd love this.
I'm okay, but I feel terrible for those poor tiger cubs. Did you know that they're stolen from their mothers the day they're born?
What?
Yeah. How'd you feel if someone kidnapped me at birth?
Well...
And when the cubs do normal things like nip and paw, they're punished so they'll sit still for photos. And how would you feel if you were a baby and they pushed you into a deep pool to swim for your life?
I never thought about it that way.
And when they get too big to pet, they end up being imprisoned in tiny cages.
Where'd you learn all that?
From StopBigCatAbuse.com.
Studies show that children who learn compassion for animals show more compassion for humans. So teach your children well. Learn more at StopBigCatAbuse.com.
Hi, my name is Christina Garlick, and my new book, Nevada Rain, is now available. It's a sci-fi fantasy story for ages 14 and up. I hope you check it out, and of course enjoy. Also, you're listening to the ArtistFirst radio network that has a station for everyone.
You are listening to The Soul of the Everyman on Artist First World Radio. Let's get back to our hosts. It's Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Z-Man. And yes, you're listening to the second half of The Soul of Everyman. And the first half hour was short, and so the second half hour will be shorter. We're talking about, tonight we're talking about, no, it's not necessarily true, but tonight we're talking about the fact that life is short. And before we begin, last half hour we were talking a little bit about, kind of being open to new experiences. And in some ways, folks, what you're listening to right now is a new experience for us. We had never been on the radio before, and it's very easy if somebody says to you, and I know you can tell we've never been on the radio before, but we're getting better every day in every way. We're getting better and better, and drugs. But the point is that we took ourselves out of our comfort zone and tried something new, and so far they haven't thrown us off the radio. So it's been it has been a learning experience, and you make sure that to say to yourself, well, I couldn't do that. People will laugh at me and thinking, it's going to be terrible, and all those things are true. It is laughing, and people are terrible, or the other way around, people are laughing and it's terrible. But it's also been wonderful, and it's been a lot of fun. And it sounds like our last show, but the point is that to take yourself out of your comfort zone is also a way to find something fun and find something new and find some new thing to wonder at,
Because there's always something to learn. There's always something to experience. And understanding that, you may not do it perfectly, if you can accept that, it's a wonderful thing.
and that is exactly it. What also cuts you off from experience is the desire to do everything perfectly. What's the enemy of the good is the perfect, but it really is the enemy of doing anything at all is the perfect. Well, I won't be any good at it is an excuse to never even try to become good at it.
Right, and it's as long as you accept who you are and understand that, well, I am not perfect, but it doesn't mean that I can't be awesome.
Right, like you. You're awesome. She's awesome, folks, let me tell you.
Oh, my. So, reel you in. Come on now.
Dude, oh, man, you're really awesome. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, my. All right, we're going back to how
life is short.
Life is. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the truth is, you have to choose to enjoy it where you are in the moment. You really have to choose right in that moment, because you always have that choice placed in front of you. Are you going to look at all the things that you think should happen and you're disappointed in? Or are you going to look at, well, gee, what's happening now? And, gee, isn't that funny?
this is a very good point. People can also make life, depressing by living in regret and living in the past. Because you've failed, or because you've really screwed something up that you can never fix, is no reason not to try and continue to live and do other things. Because unfortunately,
or even what it was that you failed at first, to try again.
Exactly. Because to live in the past and say that was so terrible, or that was such a terrible failure that I never ever want to try that again, is a way of, again, sort of not living life. It's not living forward looking. It's not living the life that you have right now. What you have is the present moment, and that's it. The past is gone. It is immutable. You can't do anything about it. And the future is unknowable. You have right now in this moment, and you have to live the life that you have right now. Now. It's a constant now.
It is the present moment of now.
Yeah.
But I think it's easy to get caught up in believing that because you failed at something or something negative happened to you, that you think you're a failure, as opposed to it being an experience where it didn't work.
That's a wonderful point.
It's not identifying identifying with what has happened to you, because people think their identity is what's happened to them.
Right.
And that's not true. You are defined by the decisions you make right in that moment. You're not defined by what is happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
If you come into a situation that fails not because of you, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. You're not a failure.
And even if it fails because of you, you can fail, and you cannot judge yourself to be a failure, because once you said I'm a failure, you're done experiencing. You're done doing.
You've defined yourself as a failure.
You've written your epitaph.
Mm-hmm.
You said I'm a failure. Done. I'm over. Instead, what you have to say is I'm a potential success. I'm also another potential failure. You have to, as the 2-year-old does, you have to tie on that blanket and get to the edge of the roof and say, man, this is going to be awesome. You have to try. You have to take a leap of faith.
And watching the kids, they don't give up on trying to walk.
No.
Okay. And especially if there's another child somewhere nearby, whether it's a sibling or not, and they're seeing them do this, like, hey, wait a minute, they're getting to wherever they want to go faster. I'm going to learn. It's possible. I'm watching them.
Exactly. It's an experience where they say, not that, hey, this guy can do this thing, like this guy can play the piano, and I'll never be able to do that. They say, man, that looks cool. I'm going to try that. I want to do that, whatever it is. Now, you still may never be able to play the piano as well as a concert pianist, but whatever it is, seeing someone else do it and saying in your heart, that looks like fun, or that looks cool, or I want to do that too.
I want to try.
I think it was either Jobs or maybe it was Bill Gates or whatever. He said, the world is full of people who are no smarter than you, doing the exact same things that you're doing and being very successful at it. Just go ahead and do it. You're not dumber than anyone else. You're not incapable of doing what the guy next to you is doing. Everybody's just about the same. There are, of course, a few geniuses and a few people who are less endowed with intelligence or whatever, but the only requirement is that you don't stop trying. If you want to succeed at something, you keep trying until you do. and you maintain the sense in your heart that you're not a failure because you failed 100 times. It's the 101st time that you succeed that everybody remembers, or that you say, "Oh yeah, I finally got it." No one remembers all the times you fell down trying to learn how to walk. They just remember that I can now walk. No one remembers all the times you lost the race, but everyone does remember the time you won. So, but there's 1,000 lost races and 1,000 falls for every success. You said it earlier. Once you judge yourself to be a failure, you're done. You have to just say, it's not judgment. It didn't work out, but I still want to do it.
Right.
Let's do it. Let's try it.
Right. This is only a failure when you stop trying.
Right, and give up.
That's the only certainty, is if you never try again.
Right, and I think you mentioned it earlier, is when you reject things, you say, well, I can't, I won't, I won't risk the failure again. You cut yourself off from the experience. You cut yourself off from actually living, and then you say to yourself, why am I even living? What's the point of it all?
What's the point at that point? You're like looking at it going, it's so empty. It's become empty. I mean, I keep trying to do it perfectly, or I keep trying to do it the way it's supposed to work, and then it's empty when it finally works. And it's why? Why is it empty for you? And it's because the experience really was not fully embraced. You were so afraid of something. And maybe that's one thing that should be noted, is that fear takes away the fullness of living.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's profound in many ways. It's because it's the fear of failure which prevents you from trying. It's not even the failure itself, because in trying and failing, you're still living, you're still doing. It's when you say to yourself, I could never, I'm afraid to, I'm afraid to fail, I'm afraid to try, that it becomes the barrier that it is. And
you erect that as almost a mirror of yourself as part of the world. You never see the world clearly because that fear is always cutting down the fullness of what's possible. All the possibilities that you have because you're alive. I mean, it's magnificent when you really think of it. What is it that you're capable of? And I didn't say, what are you good at? I said, what is it that you're capable of?
Right.
Have you even experienced it? Have you elected to even try? People do this, what do they call that? The bucket list. Before I die, I want to do this.
Right.
And it's kind of become a cliche because people are more concerned with checking it off the list as opposed to experiencing what's there.
Right.
You're like, why is that check mark more important than embracing what's actually happening in this moment? Why do you have to go to someplace special to have an experience?
Right.
It's gifted to you the minute you open your eyes in the morning. Like any small child knows, it's like, the sun is up. I'm up.
I'm up too. Exactly.
Oh boy.
And I mean, from one point of view, although truly a bucket list can be thought of as something as not wanting to ever give up trying. You say it can be used as a positive thing. You say, I realize life is short, and I realize that there's so many things that I'll never be able to do everything I want to do, but I'm going to keep on trying to do these things. So if you have a bucket list, just make sure it's not a short list, and make sure. Make sure it's not a trite list. Make it a list if you have to have a list, because some people have to have lists. And we know those people that have to have those lists. But if you have to have a list, Make sure that it's a very long, that you don't even look at the end of the list. You just keep adding things to that list. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do all these things. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to be doing something fun when you do kick that bucket, because life is short and death will catch you somewhere. Maybe, with a blanket tied around your neck at the bottom of a roof. But the point is that is that you tried. You threw on the blanket, or whatever it was. You tried that thing, and you were doing something that you wanted to do on that, undefinably long list that you called your bucket list, and the end of whatever your life is caught you. Well, gosh, that's a life well lived. It's not a life where you said, I'm going to fail, I'm not going to do anything. It's a life where you said, I'm going to have children, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to learn to play the piano, I'm going to do X, Y, I'm
going to plant a tree, I'm going to write a book.
I'm going to write a tree out of the book that I planted. Or it's the other way around. I'm going to write a book out of the tree that I planted. Man, I said that backwards. The point being is that you don't stop adding things to your bucket list, because the bucket, your life, is a container into which you can add things and you can take things out of, but you should never stop interacting with. And eventually, yes, you're going to come to the end of your life. Everyone does, short or long. But you shouldn't look to the end as a goal. You should look to the living up to the last moment as the goal. Rail against the dying of the light. John Donne is not a despairing cry of somebody. It's grasp every moment of your life as precious, even the last moments, even the first moments, and every moment in between, because you never know.
No, this is true. And going back to when we were saying that life is short, and we were wondering, well, what is it? Because people they come and they do ask, what is the meaning of life? What brings you to that question? Because as a child, you never asked that question.
That's true. It doesn't even occur to you to ask what's the meaning of life.
Right. It doesn't even occur to you.
It doesn't occur to you that life should have meaning.
Yeah,
life is an end unto itself. It doesn't need to have a meaning, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. You wake up every day, and this is a new day. There are things to explore and to do. And you understand just intrinsically that what you want to explore is something that it's not necessarily that it makes you happy, but expands what you understand about the world around you.
Mm.
And a lot of people, they say that, well, I'm looking for fulfillment. Okay, and you sit there and you're going, okay, well, what is this fulfillment that you speak of?
Tell me of this fulfillment you speak of.
No, seriously, it's like, okay, well, I wanted to. And it was always a do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas fulfillment is not necessarily that doing, but it's the experience.
And I think that some people have gotten the idea, and this is very easy to do, that fulfillment is something you can find and harbor and put in your pocket and say, I've got it. I've got fulfillment. It's right here. I've
quantified it.
Well, quantified it and in essence made it something that you can possess. I can possess fulfillment. A thing that you can go out and get at the fulfillment store, which I think is actually a back corner of Walmart somewhere. There's a fulfillment store.
There is a fulfillment.
Yes, I think actually it's in bed. It's in the Bed Bath and Beyond. It's in the Beyond section. That's where they keep the fulfillment. But the point is that fulfillment is something which I don't think you can actually properly judge that you have on your own. I think that if you have lived a life of true fulfillment, that an observer would say they lived a good life. Because I think we all know life is like art, and life mimics art, but life is like art. And you say, well, I don't know what art is. I'm not sure that what I'm looking at is art or not, but I know it when I see it. I know when I see a well-lived life. I kind of messed that up, but I'll try again. The point is that I think we all understand when we see somebody who is living life to the fullest. It's not that they're daredevils, but there's a happiness. There's an intrinsic kind of sense of its, if you call it, fulfillment about what they're doing. Their heart is full of their life. They're doing what they want to do, despite all the other little minutiae things. Their heart is full of what they're doing with their life, and you see it in people, and you say, wow, they're living their life the way they want to live their life, despite all the minutiae that we all have to deal with. Their heart core is full of what they're doing. That's a fulfilled life.
They emanate a quiet joy.
Mm-hmm.
It's within themselves, not only comfortable, but there's a
wholesomeness, a wholeness,
a contentment.
Contentment, a lovely word.
Okay? They're not grasping for things.
Mm-hmm.
It's experiencing their world and understanding that it's that heart connection that allows for that fulfillment to be felt and then radiate. When the heart is whole like that, there is a radiance that comes out of a person.
Mm-hmm.
So peaceful.
It's exactly what it is. There's that peaceful wholeness that you can sense. It's what I was trying to say in such a bad way before, but that's exactly it. When you see somebody who is content, you feel their contentment. You can feel the fact that they're radiating this kind of a wholesomeness about, even, obviously they still have to do everything that we all...
It's a wholeness as opposed to a wholesomeness. Wholesomeness has got a different connotation.
Yeah.
Wholeness meaning that there's nothing really missing or broken.
That's it. Exactly. And I believe the word is in Hebrew is shalom, and it means many things, but one of the things it means is nothing missing, nothing broken. There's a wholeness, not a wholesomeness. You're right. It's a wholeness to your life, and the essence of that contentment is you're living in the moment, you're living in the experience of life, and you're not trying to do it right. You're just trying to do it so that your heart is full. And in not trying to do it right, and this will sound very sort of Zen, you do it right.
It's not qualified. Because when you're doing it right, those are conditions that you're placing upon yourself and judging your relationship with yourself, as opposed to accepting yourself as a whole, as you are, with all your flaws and idiosyncrasies. You accept you as you are, as you've been made, and allow that acceptance to radiate the love that is. Because you were made as an individual. There's no one in this world like you. And you have to love that point of creation. Like, I am unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a unique expression of life. So embracing this unique expression of life does not mean that you are judging yourself, this good, this bad. You know what your flaws are. Understanding, these are my flaws. But I am alive.
Mm-hmm.
That internal gift of life, of spirit, of breath is in me. So what do I do today? What do I explore? There's life out there, and I'm life. So where am I going to find my reflection?
It is that, channel your inner 2-year-old in the sense that you are completely. 2-year-olds do not worry about what they're dressed in, what they look like, what they weigh, whether their shoes are tied or untied, what the rules are for the day. There is nothing but, it's like an eternal, in essence, an eternal Winnie the Pooh moment. What day is it today? Today, my favorite day. Today is my favorite day. Well, today, every day is therefore your favorite day, and there is no. It's not that you don't have a future or a past, or that things haven't happened, or things won't happen, or things will never happen. Yeah, all those things are going to do, but you don't. You don't do what you just said. You don't judge. You accept yourself as you are. Whatever you're, and you say, I can do these things. And wow, you woke up on the right side of the dirt today, and you're off to the races.
What as a child, I remember you waking up with anticipation for the day. Because there's something out there that I've never seen before. I'm going to see it, or I'm going to hear it, or I'm going to taste it, or I'm going to.
Well, and if you live your life that way, it's sort of a cliche, but every day is Christmas morning. In that regard, you can wake up excited about what you're going to do, or what might happen, or what you want to do on that particular day. And yeah, it's going to rain on your parade. You're going to get a flat tire. Something bad's going to happen, maybe. But you don't. Those aren't the things which define you or define what your life is. Those are just bumps, obstacles, things to go through.
Right. It doesn't have to define your day. If you get a flat tire, you don't have to be miserable about the fact you had a flat tire and you had to deal with it. It's like, okay, we'll just change that and we'll go on to the next thing.
And there's another day. Right, when the tire won't be flat.
And it'll roll.
and let's roll. And that's the essence of it. Life, as this episode of the Soul of the Everyman comes to a close here. Life is short. Our time on the radio talking to each other is short, but we enjoyed the whole thing, and we hope you folks enjoyed it too.
Yes, and I'm Margaret.
And I'm Michael, and I'm channeling my inner 2-year-old. And good night.
And have a good night.